This is Cutting Down the Nets, January 2nd. It is Sunday, short slate, so we'll take a little deeper dive into the pool. A decent little Saturday, nothing obnoxious. And we have one game pending. Abilene Christian's up 11 in the second half over Dixie. And they've allowed 8 made field goals and forced 14 turnovers and still have not put this away. These are the risks. All right, so let's get to it. With that game pending, we are at 246 of 187 on the season. That's 56.8%. You can follow me at BetStampCDTN. Basically, my promise to you is give reasons as to why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'll be very transparent with wins and losses. And everything I do is based off an efficiency model. And then I try to highlight and reduce risk before making final plays. You may have seen UNLV +3 added at 5 minutes before tip. And it's like, man, that wasn't in the pool. What happened? There wasn't crazy line movement. What did you see? Oh, what I saw was a tweet like a few minutes before tip that yet another guard was out for the Aztecs. And like a fish, I just chased it into a loss. So that's why you have a model. You prevent human error like I made. So it's frustrating, but overall decent day. We'll take it. All right, let's get to Sunday. Sunday. We will start at the top. In surprising, what? Why is that team only favored by 1.5? If you dig into Northwestern, you'll see they've been playing some real good ball lately, which is crazy. So Michigan State at Northwestern, Big Ten battle. I have Michigan State by only 2 points. Torvik has 2. Ken Pom has 1, and the line is 1.5. Michigan State has been dragged by 2 recent defensive performances where Oakland and High Point could not miss a 3. But just Northwestern is locked in defensively. So if I were to massage Michigan State's defensive efficiency, which I think overall is strong. In fact, why don't we just pull that up? We have time today on a shorter slate. Pull up Michigan State, and you'll just kind of see what I'm talking about. When you see all these 70s, 80s, 70s, 80s, a few 90s, and then 2 straight 113, 114s, you have to ask yourself which is more likely. And as you can see, where they got burned was 10 out of 19, 3-point defense, 10 out of 27. But prior to that, they were probably running a little hot. So those are the things you factor in. I still don't think this is a play. But they're also running hot offensively, having not really missed any threes in the last 6 games. So for me, it's a balancing act of when is it enough to show a trend has started, or when is it just noise and it's a battle I fight every single year. But that's just a little bit of insight onto that game. Next up, Central Florida, SMU. I have SMU by 2.5 points. Current line is 4. Ken Pom, 1. And Torvik, 1.5. So I think there's an opportunity for some closing line value here. I just think it's a little thin with how I have it. And I will be sitting that game out. Big news in Louisville, Georgia Tech. So please pay attention to this because I think it would change the entire game. It was reported tonight that Josh Pastner is bringing back the face shield. So adjust the handicap, adjust the ranks, and basically in games where he had a face shield and wasn't missing his best player, I don't know, it had to have been like 13-0 against the spread. So I have Louisville by 1 in this game, pre-face shield adjustments, and the line is 3. Ken Pom and Torvik have it closer to 1. Georgia Tech coming off a little bit of a COVID pause, which we'll highlight more in some of these other games here. A game worth putting into the pool, although I think there's risk, is Boston College is getting 7 at home against North Carolina. I have that closer to 4, Torvik 3. Ken Palm 5. So you have a consensus here of less than 2 possessions, and you're getting more than 2 possessions. I think the risk is BC stylistically is not built like as a 3-point shooting team, so they get the majority of their points inside, and that is very difficult to do against the UNC Bigs. So that's just, I think it's worth putting in the pool, and maybe we get some public action on North Carolina to get a little bigger number, but I'll list it in the pool, and then if I decide to go there, you would see that on BetStamp tomorrow. Indiana, Penn State. I have Indiana by 5, Torvik 4, Ken Palm 2, and the actual line is 2.5. Hoosiers have been very consistent on defense, and this is a good spot for them defensively. This is just one of those conference road games are tough, and when a team loses on the road, you're not shocked. Like, it's like, oh, well, it was at Penn State. Makes sense. So it's tough. It's tough for me. I don't know which way I'll go with that. I do think it's a decent spot for Indiana. And, yeah, we'll just see what I choose there. Bradley, Indiana State. This was 1.5 for Indiana State, so I had this as a maybe. But it has now moved to Bradley -1, which is exactly what I have it. We're within 0.006 points. That's a no play for me. So we'll move on now that that line has moved. Drake and Missouri State, not much value there. Pretty consistent with a number around 4 to 5. All right, let's get to the good stuff. Richmond versus SLU. So I have 8.5. Torvik 6.7, Ken Palm 4, and the line is 3.5. This game is basically what my model is based on. But we have to deal with COVID, so we'll have to figure that out. But let's get into why my model exists and how it applies to this game. We'll start with Richmond. When we look at Richmond's profile, so this is Richmond, you can see first half of the season, extremely hot from 3-point range. That has cooled off, and now you're dealing with offensive efficiencies in the 90 to 110 range, where earlier in the season it was more 110 to 125. On the defensive end, they have shown a little bit of inconsistency, but nothing unusual, and all of that is while kind of running hot on defensive threes at times. But that's where the inconsistency is coming from. So if I were to weight Richmond, I would say it is more likely they play like they have since the beginning of December than all of a sudden mid-November where they were making lots of threes. Let's get to SLU. SLU, look at SLU's offense here. These last 5 games. Is it from making lots of threes? Not really. I mean, there's a bad game in there. There's a good game in there. I like that they've got it done a lot of different ways. Sometimes it's with crushing the boards. Sometimes it's with getting to the free throw line. And sometimes it's with the 3-ball. But overall, their 2-point offense has looked strong. Who have they done it against? UAB, Belmont, Boston College, and Auburn. So, sign me up. I like what I'm seeing recently out of SLU. And they've played a pretty darn good schedule. Only a couple cupcakes in there. They are running a little hot on defensive efficiency, but that stayed pretty consistent outside of 2 games. So that's what I see when we look at that as an actual matchup. You'll see nothing really stands out. There's a rebounding edge for St. Louis. St. Louis is a little loose with the ball. Richmond doesn't pressure that much. SLU can force turnovers. Richmond doesn't give it up, thanks to Jacob Gilliard at point. So I don't see anything unusual other than the play exists because I'm weighting recent play much more strongly than the entire year, and that's why this has shown up as a value. Done this a long time. This works. It's possible when you cover 56, 57, 58% of your bets that 42, 43, 44% of the time it doesn't work. Doesn't mean the model doesn't work. I'm just saying that this is what I look for, and this is what works for me. However, let's go back to St. Louis because we have a little bit of a problem. This is St. Louis's team page on Bart Torvik. Their last game was on 12/18 against Auburn. So we're now approaching 15, 16 days of layoff. We started to see performance drop off after 2-week pauses last season. What to expect here? Man, I don't know. Like, now you have the hot team that hasn't played in a couple weeks. I don't know how much they've been practicing. I don't know if people were actually sick or testing positive. I don't know the specifics there, and that is it's where this pandemic into year 2 from a handicapping perspective has me fully cracked, and it's really frustrating because if this game would just be played as normal, I'd have no concerns, but I'm going to play it. It's just, wouldn't be surprised to see them come out a little flat and that eat away some of the value. So I think that is baked into this line a little bit, knowing that KenPom and Torvik would have it higher. Maybe it would have been 4.5 or 5 without a COVID pause, in which case I still would see value there. So we'll move on. Asu Cal. I have Cal by 5, but this is like Arizona State. I don't know what to do with them because they have some transfers, so maybe it takes a while to gel. They've been very inconsistent, but their defense is surging a bit. I'll show you what they look like. We'll get over to that game. All right, Arizona State's profile. Whew, ooh, daddy. Look at that defense pick up the last 5 games. Here's my concerns with that. Most of it has been with limiting the 3-ball. Nothing else stands out a whole lot. So, I don't know. You got that one game against Wazoo, too, that drags down their profile. So that's why this game is in orange for me. It's just, look, I don't feel confident in choosing a median outcome for Arizona State. Maybe they're starting to gel a little bit. Maybe they have kind of found their way. I don't know. And Cal's been much more consistent. Both teams living off recent 3-point luck on the defensive side. It's a tough call. So data says slight edge to Cal, but certainly lots of risks there and too much for me to play. Brown at Penn. Penn has struggled on D. They are a high variance offense. I do like Brown to win the turnover and rebound battle at 1.5, knowing that KenPom has it at 1. Torvik actually has Brown favored, and I have Brown favored by a little more. I would have some urgency in playing this as it could swing, and once it swings, there's really nowhere for it to go. Like, you either cross the 0 and then there's 0 value, or you play it as is. So kind of tricky. Ohio State, Nebraska. This shows up as a play for Ohio State, but Ohio State is on a 22-day pause. So I'm going to sit that out. I don't think he can touch that. I mean, I honestly forgot Ohio State had a basketball program. That's how long it's been since they played. Not much on UMass Lowell and Binghamton. Houston and Temple looks pretty good to me. I have 17.5, line is 12. KenPom 13, Torvik 15. My model, my data has always respected Houston's efficiency, so they show up as a play for me a lot, and in their conference, it's usually a big number that you have to deal with. But let's just look at what consistency looks like. This is the Houston team page. I mean, first of all, look at the offense and defense, just green everywhere. Not a good free throw shooting team that can factor into close games. But just seeing the consistency here of a team that can go 118 to 126, like that, these are predictable outcomes, and that's why I like playing Houston. One game where they failed to meet that, actually they've got maybe 2, but 2 out of 21 from 3 against Lafayette. And what happens when they miss shots? They just get their own rebound anyway, so does it really matter? Defensive side of the ball, just as consistent. So it's just a solid team that just wish they played in a different conference and had some tough spots because it's always a big number, and this one on the road. Illinois State, Valpo, got nothing there. Marist, Iona, I don't know if this game actually exists. I can't get a line on it. It looks like there could be value on the Iona side, but I truly don't know if that game exists. I think it's a reschedule. So Dartmouth, Cornell. Cornell is ninth in three-point rate, meaning only 8 teams in the country shoot a higher percentage of shots from three-point range. And they're 69th in three-point percentage, so that's pretty good. Dartmouth, 28th in three-point rate, 97th in three-point percentage. Cornell has a slight inside advantage based on their 2-point offense, so this is one of those high-variance games. We had one of those today with VMI and Furman, where I said I think there'd be 73s. There's actually 69 three-pointers. And in that case, the model had VMI as it was close to a pick'em, so I played VMI on the money line. So while I prefer a dog on the money line in high variance games, not when the data is suggesting the favored team to win by 8.5, 9 points. So it's a little thin, but on a short slate on a Sunday, I am going to go there. Evansville, Northern Iowa, both teams have just been very inconsistent. It just doesn't feel like a very predictable game to me. And then Maine in JIT. Maine is number 349 in Torvik, number 350 in KenPom, but NJIT is just awful offensively. This would be a play against Maine D. Like, will Maine allow anyone to score? Because NJIT may test that. So I think it's thin, but if you're looking for action on Sunday, probably worth spots to go than betting against the Black Bears. So I kind of broke this into 3 tiers today. I like St. Louis, although there are COVID concerns, not current COVID concerns, more coming back from a longer pause. And I like Houston on the road at Temple. Playable games from the Ivy, I think Brown plus 1.5, Cornell -4. Things I'm monitoring would be Boston College at home against North Carolina, getting 7 points, just based on the variant between KenPom, Torvik, and myself to the actual line, and North Carolina being a pretty popular public team. Indiana -2.5 at Penn State. It's a road game. It's a conference game, but I think there's a teeny little bit of value there, and I don't think that number would actually get better. So that is what I'm looking at for Sunday. We'll see if Abilene Christian can close this out for a profitable. I think we'll be profitable either way, but even more profitable for the Clowns that jumped on UNLV right before tip. So look forward to seeing you again. This is Cutting Down the Nets.